Gave me the title of my lecture, Dance of a Bygone Era. And in my haste of going away to New York to participate in a festival, I didn't even think about it because I wanted to finally ask her, how far bygone should we go? 1,000 years or more? However, I thought, since it's a half an hour talk, I could give a bird's eye view of the past, starting from before the Chola times. It's like all of you present here having a Google satellite view of the history of dance in Tamil Nadu. I believe in the Tamil culture. I belong to the heritage of Tanjavur. I'm proud of it. And I honestly believe that Bharatanatyam, in spite of the Natya Shastra having commentaries by a Kashmiri Pandit and so on and so forth, this dance has an ethos which is strictly Tamil. From our landscape, Mullai, Marudam, Kurinji and so on, this dance has grown like beautiful creepers, beautiful flowers, jasmines of intense perfume. So let us not deny our own culture and our own ethos. Let us be true to these roots, and that is what has happened in spite of many pundits over the years saying, this is not going to last. Actually, it has not only lasted, but it has grown, and grown beautifully. People today are more conscious of the roots of Bharatanatyam than ever before. And I urge young dancers to study the roots, because I think it's important for you to understand who these dancers were in a distant past. You walk into a temple, sometimes full of devotion, saying your prayers, hoping your next wish will be answered, and sometimes even forget to see some very simple poses of dancers sculpted on the walls of the temple. Those dancers were actually not just the sculptor's fancy. They were inspired by the dancers who danced then in the temples. And from what I observed, they were very, very young, with beautiful bodies, and some of them were obviously even gymnasts, because some of the poses are quite difficult unless you're a very young dancer and trained in special body movements. So this has been there in our visual heritage for a long time, and very few people actually look at the dance in the temple's sculptures. However, if you look at the only fantastic text available to us to tell us about our own history, it's none other than the Shilapadigaram. Madhavi, the ideal dancer, the important thing to note about her was she had formal training. For 7 long years, she studied everything related to dance, Sakala Kalla Vallavi. And she danced at the end of it like a porkodi, a golden creeper come alive. Only then was she given a reward by the king. So there starts the Guru Sashya Parampara. Already she knew music, she could play the veena, she could sing, she could write, she was a poetess. But the most important thing, of course, historically and socially, is she was a courtesan par excellence. She was fatally attractive. As you know the story of Shilapadigaram, her beauty was beyond compare. So the essential ingredient in those days for a dancer was, not only should she be a courtesan, but not an ordinary courtesan, a beautiful courtesan, somebody whom you could not resist. So that was her life, and she had many ups and downs, but ultimately history remembers her, or rather students of literature remember Madhavi as the Rudra Ganikai, a courtesan par excellence, who was an expert in dance. She was so good that there was none like her in the entire landscape. That is how dance became rather more formalized, because before that and after that, throughout the Tamil country, women danced and there were male dancers too. They were Koothans. But somewhere I think in the Azhagiyallam, avala overshadow pannita. What to do? Anyway, the Koothans were there. Shanti Koothu and various Koothus were performed by the men. Warriors danced and they had Veri Adal and dance for victory and dance for war and so on. But the female dancer somehow became iconic. She kindled the imagination of the male poets. If you notice, most of the saints who sang in praise of Shiva or Vishnu were men. Very few female poets, of course Andal, Vaijayantimma will not be happy with me if I don't mention Andal. But there were other female poets as well. But you find the vast amount of literature which we have inherited from male poets. Even the saints, when they speak of the dance of Shiva, apart from Karikal Ammayar, who spoke of the dance of Shiva, most of the poets sang as if they were women. They were the Nayikas. So there you had already the fertile ground for female dancers to express this poetry through dance. And these Rudra Ganikais eventually became such experts, they were kind of standing in the wings like the beauty queens of today, waiting to be selected. And who selected them and for what? Rajaraja Cholan built the most magnificent temple and he selected 400 of them from different villages, employed them in this great temple and made them forever alive. We know their names. Just imagine that. We know their names. We know where they lived. Unfortunately, we don't know exactly what they danced. That has not been put in the inscriptions. But we can imagine because they interacted with the Devaram singers. So obviously, their songs were based on the poets of that era, the poets who were then popular. Because Rajaraja Chola, as you know, obviously had great interest in music and bhakti. He propagated the Devaram hymns throughout his kingdom. In fact, he ruled his kingdom in the name of Brihadishwara. So the dancers of Tanjavur who originated in his temple were the great dancers of the greatest era of Tamil culture. And it flourished everywhere because dance then became a ritual dance. Because ritual dance became important only because the best had to be offered to the deity, to Shiva. If you can pick the best lotus or make the best rose garland, obviously among the 16 upacharas, you had to offer the best music and the best dance. So they danced to purify the temple, they danced in praise of Shiva, but they also danced for the king who was God's representative on earth. So the dancer of that era was multifaceted already. But she was under control. She had the guru there watching over her. Now this is the great importance of our culture and our heritage and our guru parampara, is that control was not a bad word. The gurus controlled the dancers and they respected the gurus. And they were very young. Their lifestyle was fashioned by their own rules. The dancers of the Chola times were the original entrepreneurs. They commanded respect in society, they were given status in society, and they were treated with great respect by the king. What more can you want? They were given titles. There was, of course, in the medieval period, I'm having to run through 1,000 years very fast in half an hour, excuse me. But there was a time, there was a dark period after the Chola era when there is no history of dance. It was obliterated from the culture of our society in many ways because of, the plundering from the north of India. many temples were destroyed. Even in those tough eras, we have stories about dancers, the Devadasis attached to temples, actually saving the deity, the icon of the temple from the plunderers. Those were the days, not the days of our Kapoors today who are plundering our deities left, right and center. Devadasis protected the deity from being plundered.